Hello and good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It is Kristi, and welcome to Weekend Winters, where I do a show live for you guys, my viewers and supporters, and people who I guess are here to hate watch too, probably. But hello, everyone, and happy Sunday to you, unless you're in a different time zone, in which case, happy whatever day it is where you are. Boy, do I have a show lined up for you this Sunday. I have to say, though, it's pretty heavy on the edgelord side of things, so we definitely need some puppies here to balance that all out. And I see lots of people in the chat already: Twisted Hippie, 250, Kelly Miller, Jared Dolly, who else is in there? Mike's in his Mithril's going on there, Simon, I see, James, all kinds of people. So thanks you guys for stopping by. What I thought we would do today, I'm also peeking a little bit, so I'm going to take that mic down just a tiny bit. What we're going to do today is, like I said, look at a lot of stupidity. We've got a video that I just saw this morning, a little clip that I want to break down from a very small channel podcasty thing, but so wrong. So wrong in so many ways. And because it just sort of got my attention as I was getting my coffee ready for the show, I thought, yes, we can do a spontaneous little short response to this. Then I thought we would look at the interesting announcement that's come out of the far right this week, which is in the last 48 hours, that they definitely announced that Carl Benjamin will be running for the UKIP party as an MEP. I thought we would take a little look at his video talking about it. Also, we can take a look at how UKIP performed in the same constituency in 2014, which of course is very different political situation from what we find ourselves in today. And then the other thing that we have is some polling data on voter intentions going into the EU elections in 2019. So just before I get going here, I see a couple comments in the chat. So last night I uploaded a new video, but it disappeared. Right, yes, I did it to the wrong channel. All right, so let's just, we can do this. Oh, where did there we go. I have to figure out this is the right one to be doing. All right, I want to show you guys, a lot of information about Carl is out and about, as you know, because he's been doing this for quite a while. I don't know. Yes, I will be able to find it. But what we kind of lack is a place, because it hasn't really been necessary to have all of his clips in one place. So yesterday I decided to start doing that, and the reason why the video got uploaded was because it uploaded to the wrong channel. And then I immediately, because I want to use my channel for this, my stuff, and I'm using this backup channel really as a place to aggregate and curate content for people's use on Carl Benjamin. So this is where you can go to see the video. It's Carl with a K, Benjamin for Southwest England MEP, and I'm purposefully not using his actual name or any images of him, because the about says curating the public comments of UKIP 2019 MEP candidate Carl Benjamin. So that is the purpose of this video. It's not to impersonate him in any way or to pretend that I am putting out his campaign stuff. It's merely to aggregate quotes that he's done. So there was the one that I did last night that I think I uploaded was the Depends on the Child, was the last one I did. And another one afterwards, I got his clip here from MythCon. And then there was an excellent let's actually watch this. I know I said I was going to do these, the guys who were talking about patriarchy incorrectly first, but we'll do this since we're here, and then we'll get to the other ones. All right. So let's watch a little bit of this. And
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's constituents complain that she's ignoring him to spend all her time.
Oh, you can't hear that at all. Interesting. Let me change the audio settings, because it's going to my external audio instead of my internal audio, so I need to put that into my coax. And we'll try it again from the beginning. And here we go.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's constituents complain that she's ignoring him to spend all her time on national issues. And to be honest with you, don't elect me to anything, because I'll probably do the same. Don't elect me to do shit, because I will do exactly the same. I'll be hammering something somewhere that I feel is important in the grand
Don't elect
scheme
him,
of culture
people.
war. I will be
Don't elect him to do
terrible
shit.
elected representative. Don't elect me to anything. Don't do it.
Don't do it, people.
I'm promising you now, you don't want me to run anything.
We don't. We really, really, really don't. Alright, so, and a total point, a real big shout out to Dita Portdahl, who put up this video, and actually we should check out that channel.
Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's
here we go. Dita Portdahl here, the same video. So watch there and subscribe, which I'm going to do right now. I'm subscribed to their channel as well. So there we are. So that's just hilarious. Like, please circulate that, people. Please circulate Carl telling people on the internets, do not elect me because I won't do anything. Please. Please circulate that far and wide. Feel free. Spread that around. I think it's a useful public service. Also, just make a note of the shirt that he's wearing here. I'm just going to point that out. This shirt here with the black tee with the keys on it, just keep that in mind. Make a mental note of that. All right. Coffee break. Oh, you know what? Also did a Portdahl because of all the effort you put in to do that. Like in that video as well. So if you get a chance to go and look at the channel, I don't know if you've seen the video where Carl lies to his own mum on camera about what he said to Jess Phillips. That, if you haven't seen him lying to his mother's face on the phone, you should definitely check out Benjamin Lies to His Own Mum, and then go look at the original Tim Demotivator opinion video, which is also linked here because that's a mirrored clip. So, as I said, we're going to be pretty heavy on the edgelords. Again, I'm trying to watch my language on a Sunday morning. The happy hour always gets demonetized. Always. I even tried to go through and create a family-friendly version, but and in terms of the F-bomb ratios, it's about an 8-to-1 F-bomb ratio between me and Kevin. So I can try to put up, it was the Alex Jones video, I was trying to do some, making it a bit more family-friendly, but it actually takes a really long time to edit out all of Kevin's cursing. So that I'm a bit behind on. And also, I am behind on the podcast, but I'm hoping in the next 2 days to get caught up on that. So if you prefer to listen to the happy hour as a podcast, I want to do 2 things. 1, I want to upload the Alex Jones episode that's still missing. And 2, I think I really need to fix some of the audio on the last one. Kevin had so many gaps. His signal was just so poor, and it's almost, I think, for me, unlistenable. So I want to try to fix that. Anyway, let's get on. Let me just check the chat as a little break between the sections. So what are you guys saying in the chat? People heard it. His don't vote for him stuff. That's great. The news about him was posted to Facebook group. One person said they hadn't seen his face before and he looked exactly how they imagined. I assume you're talking about Carl here as opposed to Farage. Racist internet trolls are the truly oppressed minority. Yeah, well, we have that clip of Carl saying, I am the vulnerable minority, while also decrying, victim culture. You can't lie to someone's face over the phone. Yeah, I think you can. I think it is. You're right there, like you're telling them a lie. So I would quibble on that metaphor. How were the Netherlands. The Netherlands was great. I went to Tilburg to do 3 days of filming, and it was so I've made a lot of videos in the last 3 years. I've learned a lot about just putting together a video in terms of the narrative and not including extraneous information, and also how to guide people by putting up certain information to bring their attention and focus it on what the purpose of the video is. And the sound and the lighting and everything else. But it was kind of like the first time I've worked with other people on a project. And it went exceedingly well. The people there, the software guys who were the technical architects of the software, were really pleased with how it all went. So we got on site, we developed some storyboards, and I don't, especially with these kinds of professionals, they don't need a lot of they don't work well with scripts. They're used to giving extemporaneous explanations of what they do because they do it at conferences over and over again. So rather than try to force them into reading a script, which would be very unnatural, we just did several takes of them speaking naturally, and it seemed to work well. Now all I have to do is take all the clips, find the best ones, put it together, clean up the audio, put in some effects, put in some music, put in some credits, an intro and outro, and get it approved. So, not much. All right, we're kind of going off on a really, really pointless tangent. I mean, it's important to me because it's my life, but not so much to you guys. And let me just check to make sure my computer's a bit wonky today. But yep, you can see that just fine now. All right, so we're going to take, this is what caught my notice. I can't remember who it was that retweeted this or whatever, but I saw it and it was like, I don't have enough coffee to deal with this kind of crap. So I thought I would just wait till the show. And what we're going to do is just break down why this is so incorrect. And by the way, it is, you can't really see it because of the lighting. But what my t-shirt does say is the F word. And this is, Tom McDonald will recognize this. He got this t-shirt for me from, I think, Secular Women Talks. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I think I got this t-shirt from there. It's all starting to blend. But yeah, here we go with the feminism word. That seems to make some people very, very upset. This clip comes from a new podcast, maybe? I don't know. They're on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Let's take a little look at triggernometry, because they trigger you. Get it? Triggernometry. We talk to fascinating experts about identity politics, human nature, free speech, and more. All right, so let's see what kind of experts. Patriarchy they brought to the table. All right. Let's play it through once. I'm not going to comment on it, and then we'll go back and start breaking this down a little bit. So the sound seems to be fine, and fingers crossed this will work.
Do you think we live in a society now that increasingly
pause.
essentially thinks that...
Let's try this again without the pause, shall we?
Do you think we live in a society now that increasingly
Nope.
essentially thinks that men are bad at some level?
Absolutely, yeah. The whole concept of patriarchy says the last few thousand years of civilization, where all this amazing stuff was invented and economic growth took off, and we're thousandfold richer than our ancestors, and life is 100 times better. That's all patriarchy, and that's all due to the oppression of women and colonialism. And men get no credit for any of that, even though it was mostly men working on it at the sort of cutting edge of invention. And so basically the last few thousand years of civilization has been rejected, right? And everything bad that happened is sort of put on men, and men are told, yeah, you're basically the evil sex. There's a possibility of redemption, which is offered by gender feminism, which says, if you just become more like women, everything will be okay.
What an idiot. I don't know who that guy is. Honestly, I can tell you what he's not in terms of his training. He's not a specialist or trained in any meaningful way in the concept of patriarchy or its use in sociology and political science and other social sciences to analyze power and gender relations. I can tell you that much. He don't know nothing about that. Nothing. All right, so hands up in the chat. Who sees lots of things wrong with those comments? I mean, I can't sit here and just explain it to you. But why don't I just engage with the chat a little bit, just from the chat's point of view. Let's go through this first. If you guys want to put some stuff up that you saw that was a problem in that clip. Identity politics for displaced men. Yeah, exactly. Their identity politics, they don't see as being identity politics because their identity has been at the center of politics. So talking about anyone else to them feels like oppression. James says, speaking as a man, all right, I know it's hard because in some ways you do have valid experiences as men. On the other hand, the whole speaking as a man, you don't want to speak for all men, but I get it. No, James, I appreciate that. And I'm also sometimes caught in that. So speaking as a man, James writes, I do not feel I am the evil sex and this idiot needs to go bugger himself with a pitchfork. Yeah, I don't think, he doesn't quote any particular feminist saying men are evil. He just attributes a value to a feminist critique of patriarchy. Jared Hare says, patriarchy is claimed to be equivalent to economic growth. Yeah, exactly. Boot like Jordan Peterson, says Kelly. Very good. All right, you guys. So now I'm going to go, I want to break this down myself. I'm going to stop frequently because there's just lie upon lie upon lie in this. And we just need to break this stuff down and explain why this is wrong. Factually, empirically, this is propaganda. This is not information that this podcast is putting out. And you can see, who are these ignorant, whining, lying idiots? I was not in a charitable mood this morning because it's just bull. All right, so let's go.
Do you think we live in a society now that increasingly essentially thinks that men are bad at some level?
All right.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely, poor victim men. Here's the problem. As someone else pointed out in my remarks, reactionaries like this, anti-feminists, seem incapable of understanding the difference between individuals and structures. Agency versus structure. And to explain this, I'm sorry to be pedantic, people in my audience will probably know this already, but presumably one of the Triggernomics guys is going to watch this so that they can be outraged that they were corrected by a feminist. So let me correct them clearly. Individual people operate within larger social structures. And within that also operates within patriarchy, because within patriarchy, which definitionally means the rule by men, so it means some sort of governance or power that is held by men, and it doesn't have to only be against women. Patriarchy hurts men too. Feminists have been saying this for decades, but men who are just so closed off from any critique of their own the power structures that benefit them, they hear everything as a personal critique. So yes, patriarchy hurts men, and it is a system that is built on a structure of power from toxic masculine norms that rewards certain kinds of men, punishes other kinds of men, and punishes all women, or tries to marginalize women. That is the structure of patriarchy. Individuals within it might be helping it or might be opposing it. They might be in support of it. They might be opposed to it. But to conflate a critique of patriarchy with a critique of every individual man is to fundamentally either misunderstand what the critique of patriarchy is, or to understand it but to want to lie to people. And it's hard to tell which this guy is. Is he just ignorant of the concept and how it's used? Or is he lying to people to make money? I picked an ignorant liar because I guess I'd like to cover my bases. But really, this guy, I don't know why they put him on air or platformed him on this topic, because he clearly really knows nothing. He's just speaking from personal bias.
Absolutely, yeah. The whole concept of patriarchy says the last few thousand years of civilization, where like all this amazing stuff was invented and economic growth took off, and we're thousandfold richer than our ancestors, and life is 100 times better. That's all patriarchy.
No, that's not all patriarchy, you idiot. Again, patriarchy is talking about rule, governance, power. It means patriarchy, the rule of men. Patri as in, patris. Archy as in monarchy. Ruling. And what he's saying, so let's just break this down, because it's not, he's conflating so many things here, right? Let's translate this into what he's actually saying. If you look at the last few thousand years, where a social structure has been built upon which, in particular, white men enslaved other men and sexually and domestically enslaved women, and these elite group of men benefited from the labor, both the bodily labor and the time labor and the emotional labor of women, the physical and economic labor of other men, which they owned through either slavery or serfdom or some other form of power control. And then with all that free time, the Thomas Jeffersons of the world could look out over their slaves and look out over their sex slaves and have time to think and write. And that privilege, that by stealing other people's lives and labor and wealth, freed up a small group of privileged men to think about things and develop stuff, we should only give them credit. We should give them credit for work they didn't do. Other wealth that they didn't create, that they took in order to make their lives enjoyable and privileged to the point where they could think about these things. And we shouldn't criticize that system at all that was so unfair and actually destroyed people's lives so a few white men in Western civilizations could benefit. Because that's what happened. The white men didn't just, wake up with these ideas. They had an entire power and economic structure behind them that privileged them to go to university, to have the time, to have women to have sex with and raise their children for them, to have domestic servants that didn't cost them very much, whose lives they could use up so they could sit on their ass and write books. And yeah, they wrote some great books and they had really important ideas, but they did that on the backs of other people, not by themselves. They did that because of slavery, not because of only their own merit. And that is patriarchy. That is patriarchy. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit right? So, this guy is an idiot. Don't listen to what he says. Only to critique it. Only to critique it on this topic. I don't know, maybe he's smart about other things. He is not smart about this. All right, continuing.
And that's all due to the oppression of women and colonialism.
Oh, he forgot human slavery there. You forgot centuries of human slavery and theft. Yeah. Colonialism, if you count also the Americas and the genocide of the native population through disease and war, and stealing all the gold and bringing it back to Europe. That's all part of that power system. White men didn't do that by themselves. White men did that on the backs of other people. And that's what we're asking you to acknowledge. And also that the systems that benefited those men, still pretty much in place. Still pretty much unchanged if you look at who occupies positions of power over time. White men still dominate everywhere. So that historical legacy of the easy path upwards exists for white men in a way that it doesn't exist for women or people of color in the West.
And men get no credit for any of that.
No credit? Are you serious? Men get no credit for that? Have you looked at a history book? Have you looked at any books on philosophy? You see a lot of women are marginalized. Even when they make contributions, they don't get credit because it's usually men who are writing these books. So the idea that men don't get any credit, oh my God, what planet is this guy living on? Seriously, do you know why we have to have, we not have to have, but why we do have Black History Month and why we do have Women's History Month? Because the rest of the time, we're just talking about white men in history books or in articles, right? It's about calibrating our focus as to whose participation and activities count. And it's not just white men we should look to and go on a panel show, we need an expert, let's get a white man. Oh, we need, whatever else, let's get a white man. White man has authority to think outside the box. And the idea that men aren't getting any credit for, it's just ridiculous. Like, who is not giving them credit? Really? Show me a history book where white men, especially, are not being given credit for stuff. This whiny, self-centered, just complete misrepresentation of any critique as a complete dismissal. It gets me to the complete dismissal of you, not of men, of you, because you've got bad ideas, terrible, ignorant ideas, and you're spreading ignorance and bias. And victim, you're sort of like playing the victim card, which I assume this is something that they accuse other people of doing. All right, so lie that men get no credit. Men get no credit for any of that. Lie, 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 lie.
Even though it was mostly men working on it.
It was mostly men stealing other people's labor in order to free up their time to do it, is what I think he means. And again, this has nothing to do with him. I'm not criticizing, I'm criticizing him because he's ignorant, but I'm not criticizing him because of what happened, to allow Jefferson or Washington or Hume or Kant or any of the other men, the dead white men that we revere and put up in paintings everywhere, but yes, we can criticize that structure. And you don't have to take it personally. You don't he maybe benefits from it personally, but men are hurt by patriarchy. And when he actually realizes that, internalizes that, maybe some light bulbs will go off about the problem of patriarchy isn't men per se. It's the culture of masculinity and manliness and the norms and the power structure that we've inherited. That's the problem. That's the basis of the critique.
At the sort of cutting edge of invention. And so basically the last few thousand years of civilization has been rejected.
Again, a simplistic black and white childlike understanding of what the point of critique is. The point of critique is to, you can say these things had positive effects, but you also have to be honest when they have negative ones. And this is what I find with the sensitive, white dude fifis, is that you can't be honest about how white men have obtained, preserved, and passed on power for thousands of years. And so in order to strawman feminists and other critics, racial justice critics of this kind of power structure, they just turn into a complete rejection of civilization. No, we're rejecting oppression, a lack of meritocracy, racism, misogyny, other things that actually stop people from having the opportunities to realize their full potential. So no, we're not rejecting Western civilization. We're rejecting all the bad parts about Western civilization that have stopped people from being able to fully realize their potential for thousands of years. How many women have lived and died who were actually an Einstein or, another Madame Curie or Marie Curie or anything else, but they were marginalized because they didn't have a penis? That's the kind of oppression that we want to reject. Not all of Western civilization, which is, again, it's just such an easy straw man to dispute. It's hard to take this guy seriously.
Right. And everything bad that happened is sort of put on men.
With a few rare exceptions. Men have been running everything for thousands of years. So we're saying, look, when this bad stuff happens, yeah, guys, you're accountable for it. And he doesn't want that accountability. He wants all the benefits of the history of slavery, all the economic advantages it gives white people and white men, especially in America. And I don't want to extend slavery to Europe, but there's a lot of structural advantages for white men in Western Europe as well. And to say, if we do any critique of how you have an easier path to power than anyone else because of the history we all are a part of, then you're evil. No. Again, another straw man. It's just ridiculous. I mean, just push him over because it's so easy to knock these down.
And men are told, yeah, you're basically the evil sex. There's a possibility of redemption, which is offered by gender feminism, which says, if you just become more like women, everything will be okay.
All right, so I don't even know what he means by gender feminism. I want to see if he's just made this up or if there's a technical term he's referring to. Gender feminism. Oh God, no wonder. Oh, okay, this is also very insightful. This is a term used by Christina Hoff-Sommer, so it's not an academic term at all. Not an academic term. Other feminist scholars have largely rejected the term as overly broad or misrepresentative. Philosopher Martha Nussbaum states that Sommer's definition of gender feminism, quotes, fits almost all contemporary social thinkers in political thought and economics, unquote, and so does not correspond with a particular brand of feminism. Insightful. So this dude from trigonometry is getting his information from a discredited right-wing reactionary anti-feminist. Why am I not surprised? Okay, so he's not using a real term. He's using a right-wing reactionary term that has no academic merit. And it is not the case that feminists are telling men to be more like women. This again it shows the sort of fear of any unpacking of toxic masculinity, right? Because the thing about patriarchy is that it in part defines itself as not being women. That's, the justification for the power is lodged in the penis in a patriarchy. That is like the defining thing that, is the basis of power and a slightly physical larger build. And there's nothing, so let me just gather my thoughts here. And as a consequence, with patriarchy defining itself on sex, women have to be lower. if you're having rule by men and excluding women, the justification for that comes from violence, the threat of rape, religious justification, and then later on legal structures, and it's also reinforced by economic structures. Women are economically displaced, illegally displaced and not recognized. They have no place in politics. Their bodies aren't their own, and they can be beaten up and killed at any time because they're slightly smaller in frame. And so patriarchy has no place for equality of women. It doesn't. In an egalitarian framework, we are as first people. We're first people, in humanism, and then we have all these other attributes, like our sex, our gender, our identity, whatever else. And so therefore, in a humanist framework, incorporating or accepting a critique about the use of anger and stoicism rather than expressing emotions, about not valuing the nurturing elements of fatherhood, rather only really emphasizing the providing and disciplinary parts of it, and re-examining our gender roles, that men can express emotions, that they can be nurturing fathers, that there is an entire side of men that is being denied by patriarchy, that makes them emotionally damaged, that hurts men. And by undermining that and overturning it, you can actually have men who are more emotionally healthy. And that's so threatening that they equate that feeling emotions, being nurturing fathers, all of the critiques of it, as being women. Why? Because, again, in a patriarchy, when you define yourself as being by a man, women are necessarily lower. It's like, straight guys, then gay guys, then women in their power structure. And this guy is reinforcing it. This is going longer than I intended. Okay, good, it's done. Oh my goodness gracious, what a load of crap. Do not listen to this podcast. They don't get experts on. Honestly, it's garbage. Complete garbage. All right, so let me see a little bit if we've got, what comments do you guys have for me? Yes, this is fine. Sorry, I'm just changing around. No, that's still good. So let me have a look at the chat here, see what you guys were thinking about that last section. He speaks slowly and uses complex terms. It's called acting. And Mike says, and we men don't get nearly enough blame for shit we do. Look at how they talk about white guys who shoot their partners to death and then kill themselves. Yeah, agreed. They'll often start like MIT, kills his sweetheart, instead of talking about MIT grad kills his sweetheart, instead of saying MIT grad killed by, crazy stalker ex-boyfriend. I just want people to become more like themselves and feeling some sort of role. The boxing in of people behaviors because their dick or balls is stupid. I agree. I think we have in this idea that sex is a binary, biology is a binary, all this stuff is crap because, if you go back and you actually ask people on a gendered attributes metric, they're going to score on both feminine, as we'd say, and masculine metrics to produce sometimes highly masculine types of people, highly feminine types of people, androgynous people, and people who are not really strong in either masculinity or femininity, just by the having a 2x2 table. So there's a lot of nonsense that's spread around. Trying to box men in to really old-fashioned and, frankly, emotionally harmful ideas of what it means to be a man. And I would strongly recommend anyone search that TED Talks. It's called the 3 most dangerous words, the 3 most harmful words, and it's be a man. You can say to someone. All right. So let's see. We've got. Yeah, I thought that went a half an hour. I didn't mean for that to go a half an hour, you guys, but it did. Sorry. Also, I'm worried I'm clipping a little bit, so I'll just pop that down. Right. Should we? Let's see. Oh, it's only a 4-minute clip. Okay, that's not so bad. So let's have a look at Carl's clip here. And I haven't done a sound check on that, so I will need to do that. But let's see how, after he said don't elect him, remember people, don't elect him for anything. Let's go with his campaign to become an MEP for Southwest England. Now, do you notice what he's wearing? He's wearing the same damn t-shirt we saw him in last time. One. So it'd be really easy, honestly, to edit together that "don't vote for me" into this because he's wearing the same shirt. So some, particularly inventive person with too much time on their hands wants to, mix in his wearing that t-shirt saying don't vote for me, I wouldn't do crap into this video, it would be really hard to tell what was clipped and what, which was which based on his clothing. So, and the other thing too is in this announcement video, it's really showing quite a lot of respect to the voters by, wearing a t-shirt in the video. That's Carl dressing up. So, and he wants to be taken, maybe he doesn't want to be taken seriously. I mean, he's not dressing like he's taking it seriously. Anyway, he's wearing a t-shirt he wears all the time, and he's putting up a video to people who don't, who live elsewhere in the world instead of having, maybe he'll have an in-person event as well. Oh, I already voted this down too, by the way, of course. But I haven't listened to the whole thing through. I voted it down based on his fashion choice. So let's go ahead and have a listen to what Carly has to say.
My name is Carl Benjamin. I'm a member of the United Kingdom Independence Party.
Wow. He doesn't even know his own lines. He's got to check his script. Did you notice that? He's got to check his name. He's got to remember what his own name is. Let's see that take again. Watch his eyes.
My name is Carl Benjamin. I'm a member of the United Kingdom Independence Party, and I'm campaigning to be an MEP for the southwest of England. I'm a centrist liberal, and I voted against...
Read that script, Carl. Read that script. You don't actually know what you believe to speak extemporaneously, so please read that script. Actually, let's see. Why don't maybe I can put up the chat here alongside. If I do, so I'm going to try to resize this window so I can get both the chat and Carl in the same window, so you guys can see him and your own comments. And then I can react a little bit to what you have to say as well. All right. Yeah, that's getting there. Hold on 1 second and then we'll be done. I can't have the windows overlapping, otherwise there we go. Let's hit play then.
Campaign for Brexit, so as you might imagine, I do not actually want...
Sorry, I got all distracted by his... I have to go back. I got all distracted by his obviously reading a script. So let's start again. All right.
My name is Carl Benjamin. I'm a member of the United Kingdom Independence Party, and I'm campaigning to be an MEP for the southwest of England. I'm a centrist liberal, and I voted and campaigned for Brexit, so as you might imagine, I do not actually want to become an MEP.
Okay.
I want to see Britain out of the European Union. However, it seems that the political class of Britain is guilty of dereliction of duty and will not deliver Britain's exit from the EU, and so now regular people like myself have to start getting our hands dirty with the political process.
Well, actually, in my opinion, Carl, as a person who grew up in America and valued American democracy and the principles, I've always been involved and getting my hands dirty. Since the age of 16, I've been working on politics. So I know for Carl, everything is, he's so egotistical. Everything is about him and centered in him. And he thinks because he now is getting involved, that suddenly this is a new phenomenon and everyone is doing it, not realizing that actually he's just been a lazy ass and a shill for hate. And he's not done anything because it's easy to sit on your butt when you're a privileged white man and just cry to other privileged white men about how disenfranchised and not even disenfranchised, just how persecuted you are because people criticize power structures you benefit from. Oh, and they also hold you accountable when you say awful things and racist things and bigoted things, and that too apparently is a problem. Oh God, he's just useless. And so far, yeah, I, me. Really nothing directed at the voters. No reason. He's not connecting with people based on their concerns. He's talking about himself and what he cares about, which is typical for Carl because he doesn't have an empathetic framework. He only has an egotistical one.
I am not a politician. I am an office worker and an amateur game developer turned...
You're not an office worker, you lying sack of crap. Where do you work in an office? You're a hate monger who got banned off of Patreon for racial slurs and homophobic slurs. He's office worker. An office worker. He's lying. How do you work in an office? He would be better off to say he's a self-employed business person than to say he's an office worker. Don't even try to like relate to people who have to get up at a certain time every day and go to a job in a specific place and deal with people they don't want to have to deal with when you live in a bubble where you sit on your butt and occasionally put out videos. Liar. And yeah, the game development, you're a failed game developer. You tried and failed. That doesn't mean you're a game developer. It means you're a failed game developer. And I just want to thanks, by the way, to Bruce. I see you there in the chat. You pointing out game developer. Games developed 0. Correct, sir. You are correct, sir. All right, let's see what else he's talking about here.
Successful political commentator. What kind of successful political commentator is he? Oh yeah, he's that racist troll who sent rape tweets to members of parliament. That's his successful political comment. Oh, and getting kicked off of Patreon, which I guess you guys already know. I don't need to look that up, but there you go. There's Carl being an awesome, successful political commentator for the far right, for white supremacists, for racists, and bigots. That's where your success is found, Carl. Part of a class of people who have emerged from their living rooms to get involved in the way that the world is run.
Well, he's really completely self-centered. Like, again, there is actual data on this he could have looked up in terms of, like, engagement and interest, but instead he's like, because I'm getting off my fat butt, I'm going to generalize my experience out and think and delude myself into thinking that there are millions of guys just like me who don't care, but now because I care, they will also care. Not talking again about the voters.
Because we're not very happy with the job that's been done so far. My online presence has always been a place for levity in addition to serious commentary, and that won't change, and neither will I apologise for it.
Oh, all right, yep. He won't apologise for his racist comments. This is great. This is going to be so much fun. I'm going to have to take off a weekend and just donate a couple weekends, I think, in the lead up to the campaign. I'll just like take the channel or whatever over to some really, populous areas and go donate my time to parties to knock on doors and hand out lit. And he gives such great material, so.
Right. Political correctness is for other people. I'm here to tell the truth.
Carl can't read long enough to figure out what the truth is. Oh, God. And again, this is an amazing announcement if your aim is to tell people you don't care at all about their issues, but you definitely want to talk about what you feel.
I've always been funded exclusively by my audience, making me accountable to my audience. I've never taken money from millionaire donors or corporate sponsorships.
Yeah, you take money from racists and bigots, and legitimate groups won't fund you because you're funded by racists and bigots. That's not a point of pride. It's actually pretty humiliating, to be honest, that you're a slave to the most bigoted racist people on the internet.
And that will not change. So why am I doing this? Well, I don't feel represented. I don't feel the establishment is listening to people like me or my supporters. They seem to be doing the precise opposite of what we want, and it's time for a change. It's time for people who are not professional politicians.
I've never voted, and I've not gotten my hands dirty, says Carl. And now I'm really upset that the people I didn't vote for or didn't support aren't doing exactly what I want. Well, why would they, you moron? You haven't done anything to connect with the politics to, articulate anything. He is a grifter. Yep, Ecom, he is a grifter.
To get involved to make sure the concerns of regular people are actually represented in the halls of power. So
real people, he doesn't know who's represented in the halls of power because he's only now just getting his hands dirty. So what does he know about anything? He doesn't. I just realized too that you guys can't see all the comments because of where I put myself in the window. So I'm fixing that. All right, let's go back a little bit and get his last statement so we're connected.
In the halls of power. So what will I do? Well, primarily, I will advocate for Brexit, the Brexit I campaign for, which is a complete withdrawal of Britain from the European Union. So Britain is once more a sovereign country, and I will do everything...
Does he mean a hard Brexit? Is that what he means when he says full? Does he mean hard? Why don't you just say what you mean? A full Brexit I mean, could be anything in terms of like where the hard, like a completely outside the EU or some sort of out, but it's still a connection. It's a very, again, we'll see. We'll see if he actually demonstrates a sophisticated enough point, or he says, the words that people would understand, like a hard Brexit.
In my power to help Britain leave this illegitimate bloc for good. I will also do everything in my power to obstruct or rescind Article 13 of the Copyright Directive.
So I'm running so I can take care of things I care about, not anything you care about.
Which will be responsible for social media censorship across the continent. I will also promote the devolution of powers.
But wait. Oh, sorry. Wait, he wants to get out of the EU, so he has no say in terms of how Article 13 goes ahead. But he also wants to be active in it so he can control what the EU does, even though he doesn't want any part of the EU. What? I don't have a LinkedIn account, so I don't care. All right, continuing. Sorry, that was just a stupid notice from my security system, but I already shut down LinkedIn ages ago.
From the European Union and back to the member state. Now, that is obviously the opposite of what the European Union is trying to achieve, and so who knows how successful that will be. But I have to try. I will also challenge all manifestations of radical leftism as and when I find them, and I will...
Wow, it really is just like, here are all the things I care about. Oh, wow, he's so useless. He is so useless. Has he talked about anyone but himself at this point? No. Wow, okay, continuing.
I will expose them to the public via my YouTube channel so you can see what these people are doing behind closed doors.
I think that there are already ways to watch debates that are happening in the EU Parliament and read coverage of it. I certainly don't think you need Carl in a committee hearing recording it instead of paying attention. But honestly, I couldn't see him doing that if he ever made it that far, because he doesn't know enough about a topic to speak to it. So all he could do is interrupt and be disruptive, because he's literally too incompetent to do anything else.
I will also oppose mass immigration to all the... I will also do everything in my power to obstruct or rescind Article 13 of the Copyright Directive, which will be responsible for social media censorship across the continent.
Sorry about that all. I changed it. I don't know if you can see. I changed the screen so you can see me better, and I ended up accidentally going backwards, so we're just going to let it run.
The European Union is trying to achieve, and so who knows how successful that will be. But I have to try. I will also challenge all manifestations of radical leftism as and when I find them, and I will expose them to the public via my YouTube channel so you can see what these people are doing behind closed doors. I will also oppose mass immigration to all the nations of Europe.
But wait a minute, immigration is, like, in Germany's case, a domestic policy issue. So what standing do you have to get involved in German migration affairs, especially if you're seeking a hard Brexit, Carl? Again, he has no idea. It's all about his feels. This thing is entirely about his feels in a t-shirt.
If you would like to help me, you can do so many ways. You can donate to me on Subscribestar or PayPal. Links in the description. You can obviously like and comment on my videos.
Give me money!
Which is always encouraged.
Your ideas suck!
You can share everything I do on social media as far and wide as possible.
That we will do. Are you guys with me? We will share stuff about Carl on social media. Oh, and did you know they gave him a new Twitter account? As long as we're speaking about his official election campaign account, if you guys find bits that you want to share with this account or whatever else, so it's called Carl UKIP. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep it up, considering he is technically banned. But they are, of course, having a go because Twitter's overworked in terms of, it's... what it has to monitor anyway. But yeah, announcing Carl's candidacy here. It's Carl UKIP. That's the account name. And under his video, we can watch this little clip. A little shout out here to Tim, Demotivator Opinion. These are the kinds of videos, by the way, that I'm looking for to aggregate. So what I don't want in the aggregation thing is for you to write me an email saying, oh, there was one time this clip of Carl saying, He wants to redo Gamergate 2.0. I'm like, well, yeah, that's fine, but I don't have time to like dig around the internet and find what you remember. So if you remember something, go to the original video, find me the timestamp, send that to me, or if somebody else has already clipped it, send me that and I will try to, I'll get permission to mirror the clip. But yeah, I really don't have time to be, I'm aggregating. I'm not a detective, I'm an aggregator. All right, so if you guys haven't seen this is from ages ago. Now, I guess in internet time, it's forever ago. It's from Tim's video called Sargon of Akkad's Flagrant Double Standards. And of course, you know, I have to like clip it to fit on Twitter. So it's 33 seconds of a much longer video. And away we go.
Considering you're the person who said to a member of parliament, I wouldn't even rape you. I wouldn't even rape you. And then when you told your mother about it on a phone call, you left the even out.
Recording a quick thing for Twitter, just to let you know, right, there's a feminist MP called Jess Phillips, and I wouldn't rape her. I will never rape her, ever.
What's that about?
And I'm thinking, well, telling someone that I wouldn't rape them is something I would say in front of my mum.
So that's why, in my opinion, he lied to her face. Completely lied to his mother there about what he said. Because he knew it sounds awful. And he couldn't say, I wouldn't even rape you, to his mom. So he just lied to her. And then now he wants to do the same to the voters in the MEP constituency of Southwest England, I guess. All right. So that's, yeah, coming up to 10 minutes before the next hour. And those are the two stories I definitely wanted to cover. I'm actually kind of tired. I think it's because I traveled the last week. You know, I got on the train Sunday, worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, came back Wednesday night, then worked Thursday and Friday. So maybe that's why I'm kind of dragging here a little bit. But tell you what, why don't we take a 10-minute break? Give me a chance to set up for the next section, which is, I know 10 minutes is normally, it's longer than we normally do, but two things. I didn't have a chance to set up for another PragerU video, and I want to get up the the discourse questions again. And two, I need more coffee. I just need more coffee. Now, if you, by the way, you might recognize, I think the song, maybe it's not the same song, I don't know. I think I was using the podcast song in the interregnum, not the interregnum, in the intermission of the section. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. I'm babbling now. Even more reason for me to get offline. Let's go to camera and look at some cute little puppies while I say, you know, I should put this video up on the breaks, on the pre-show, so you guys can watch puppies. I'll tell you what, I'll do that. Media source, media ad existing, I'll do this for you guys before I go. And that way you can look at cute puppies and listen to music for 10 minutes. I will put the puppies over the picture of Venice. That way, I mean, Venice is nice and everything, but puppies are cuter, let's be honest. All right, I just have to resize this window and then we'll be all set to go. So you guys can listen to some music, look at some cute puppies, and we will be back here at 1 or 2 minutes after the top of the hour to continue with part 2 of Weekend Winters. Thanks, you guys, and see you in a bit. Oh, nope. Sorry. And hello guys, I'm back again. Thank you for your patience during that break. It was very important to me to get my coffee. I need my coffee in the morning. And also to set up a little bit more. So yeah, let's just continue enjoying the puppies, because they're so adorable. I need to add some new material, build on this, and add some cats and some birds and some other animals as well. So before we move on to a PragerU video, because the second part of this is going to be looking at a PragerU video from the perspective of discourse analysis, like we did last week, but more formally, I just want to say a couple more things about the Carl Benjamin announcement, I guess you would call that, perhaps. It was terrible. I mean, not only because I dislike Carl, I mean, obviously there's a personal bias here, but just from an analytic point of view, from a political campaigning point of view. I know from both my studies and from years of watching elections that what voters care about and what the politically active care about aren't always the same thing. Going into 2020 as a progressive, feminist, secular, atheist activist, my fundamental concern has to do with protecting our democracy from fascist. Like, it is core. Like, that is what is motivating me. I understand that every time Trump tries to break the law and his cabinet members follow him and the Republicans in the Senate don't do anything, it's degrading, it's destroying our democratic freedoms and our democratic process. Even if it's flawed, and I can agree that there's a lot of flaws to our system, we don't want it to break down because it's flawed. We have to keep the things that are good, right? But when it comes to campaigning in 2020, I wouldn't be on the doorsteps saying we have to protect democracy from Donald Trump, because that's what I care about. When I'm on the doorsteps, you know what I would be saying? I'm not going to be there because I don't live in the States, but in my healthcare. Healthcare. There is a reason why Republicans run on guns and abortion and govern on taxes and tax credits and then regulating, they campaign on small government and then give away big, huge corporate tax breaks. Why? Because they talk about the things that their base cares about. They don't talk about the things that they care about. Republicans don't talk about massive corporate tax credits. And they don't run on, protecting the wealthy from any kind of health regulation or keeping the minimum wage to below poverty levels. They're not that open. They campaign on, killing women in order to protect babies by making abortion illegal and making sure that, violent offenders, domestic abusers, guys and women with stalking charges can still access guns. I mean, that's what they campaign on. What they govern on is something else. And as Democrats, we can't make the mistake of being on the doorstep and talking to people about what we care about. We have to talk about what they care about. And then we have to do something about it. You can't just talk about it. We have to improve the basis of Obamacare and expand it out, whatever, the other things that can be done to fix it and repair the damage done by Trump and the Republicans. So Carl thinks that his entire campaign is just going to be him talking about his fifis all the time to adoring crowds. He's going to be a massive failure. And guys, I am here for it. I got my chair. I got my floor chair recommended by Dusty Smith. I can lean back, cross my arms, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, whatever, and watch Carl fall on his face. I am here for that. I might have to go and attend a Hastings in person, just so I can sit in the front row and stare at Carl and try to rattle him. What do you think about that? Me and Kevin in the front row at one of these hustings? We'll just sit there and giggle at him. Just sit there and look at him, stare at him and giggle, whisper back and forth to each other. See how long it takes to unnerve him. Oh, that would be funny. That would be so funny. Okay, I just wanted to finish up on that. An actual political analysis, not just my personal contempt, which there is plenty to go around when it comes to Carl Benjamin, but also just an analysis of his utter failure to connect with what voters besides himself care about. I know he's won his own vote. He's definitely got one vote in that entire constituency. Oh, there was something else I wanted to do. Now, did I actually I hope I did. There was a very interesting tweet that went out yesterday about voting intentions. And if I was a clever girl, I would have bookmarked it for this show. So how clever was I? Was I clever enough to... I think I was having some problems with my bookmarks. No, I didn't see it. So let me go to my replies, because I know it's there. I know I sent it out. And it is, before we move on to the PragerU thing, this is actually relevant to Carl's stuff. This is actually pretty funny. Sorry, scrolling down. I tweet a lot, so it might take me... Oh, this guy apparently is a great Trump... Oh, you can't see anything. Hey, guys, how about if I actually change the screen here? Sorry, I was all distracted by what I was doing. You haven't missed anything, I don't think. This guy does a great impression of Donald Trump. If you want, you can go check that out. I don't really have time right now. I'm looking for... I know what I'm looking for, I just had to find it. There's all the stuff about Carl. It's about voting intention. Give Twitter a little chance to... Ah, here we go. Getting closer. Yeah, there we go. This is the one. All right, thank you for waiting patiently with me, because it is worth it. 2014 were the last EU elections every 5 years. So now we're back in 2019. And this was Westminster, and sorry, there's also, let me get the 2000, this is the change, sorry. Not the best chart, I've got a better one. I've got a better one coming down here, I know I do, because I tweeted it out. Maybe it's with the other one up here. Sorry guys, see, this is why I don't want to do this stuff on air. That's why I take a break. All right. Anyway, this is the change in, let's see, source. Yeah, change is new, the sample size, and the voting intentions. All right. I wish I had the one that I was thinking of, which was the 2014 compared to now, but you can still see that currently this is from April 10th to 11, 2019, and this is Britain-wide. So these are British adults, a sample size of over 1,800. And currently, the Labour is winning out in terms of intention to vote at the European elections, followed by the Conservatives. And then Brexit is, the Brexit vote now seems to be split between like UKIP and this new party that's going to be going on, and then the Lib Dems and the Greens. So I'm really bummed out that I can't find that one tweet. It was so much better than this one. But basically, UKIP was at a high before the referendum and the discussions of Brexit and the non-stop Brexit drama, endless drama all over the place. So it's not surprising that UKIP aren't doing quite as well as they were before, because there's a cost of rule. Like when you get in power or your policies are being enacted, then people have an opportunity to get upset about it and not like it. Dang it. Let me see if I can find this YouGov vote intention 2019 and 2014. Yep. Let's see what I got there. No, nothing. I could try to, alright, let's see if this is the one. There's a Brexit survey results. No, it's a tracker. Anyway, sorry, I should have definitely prepped this better because we don't have time to read the top line results. But Brexit is not doing as well. The Brexit party isn't doing as well this time. They're split. There's obviously like the Farage split with the UKIP split. And when I looked up Southwest England, EU, this should get me to the, constituency. We can look at the results. Because, in all honesty, UKIP did pretty well here last time. The question is, what are they going to do now? So this was the 94 to 99 election. And we've got the MEPs. Where's the voting result? electoral results. Here we go. For 2014, UKIP did do really, really well. They came in first. They got 32% of the vote, followed by the Conservatives and then Labour. This is a more conservative-leaning area. So what I would expect then, if you've got a split now with the most famous person known for Brexit not being part of UKIP, I think that this UKIP vote here could split 50-50. And with a candidate as poor as Karl, there might be people who are choosing to, not vote UKIP because they don't want to vote for a racist troll. So if we were to project the intentions that I saw in the other one, which is the split between the two parties, that would definitely bring the total votes. If that pattern were to hold with people who traditionally or would have voted UKIP last time now being given two anti-EU parties, one carrying, and the most recent one having the name that people know, being Nigel Farage, it's very possible that this vote split could put them closer to the Labour Party, and since the Tories might have a sort of a cost of rule for messing Brexit up, that might bump up Labour to a clear second position. So we'll have to look, but it's very possible that because of the way things are going and picking a really, really controversial poor candidate, UKIP could do much worse in 2019 than they did in 2020. So sorry that was a long-winded way, like how long, 15 minutes, almost 10 minutes, I guess that's not so bad, of explaining why Karl's current strategy of announcing on YouTube and talking about himself, what he cares about, instead of going out to the voters and listening to other people's concerns and then understanding how he could represent them, is not, it doesn't bode well for UKIP. Right. So should we have a little look at a PragerU video? And then we're going to wrap it up for our Sundays. I will now, by the way, I hate putting in you. I know it is technically you, but it's not a you. It's a fake news. It's a propaganda piece. I think we're going to stick with political science because that's the one I know, and then at some point we'll go into something like life studies or whatever. All right. Now, before we do that, let's have a look at the chat, see what you guys have to say about anything that's been going on air in the last couple of minutes. So what do you guys have? He's not really running. Yeah, he's not running a serious campaign, that's for sure. The UK has never been a totally white ethno-state. No, I mean, it's had people from all over Europe coming into it, including the Romans, from southern Italy, and yeah, it's never been a white ethno-state, that's true. All right. Nothing is popping out at me in the comments. That's fine. You guys can just do... Oh, let's see. Oh, people are trying to help me out. Before the tweet I pulled up... see, I should have looked at this while I was doing it. What else did you say? Marco said, you and Kevin being called a garbage human by Karl. Yeah, that would be hilarious. I would just giggle. If he called me a garbage human, I would definitely record that, and I would giggle. Okay. So we're going to look at now, and if you were around, you might not know this, but there was an episode of Weeknight Winters on Friday evening, because normally Kevin and I do a happy hour on a Friday, and he had other plans, and I was like, it's a Friday night, I need to be on YouTube. So used to doing it. Thursday night felt like a Friday night to me, because we had the happy hour on Thursday night, and then I had to get up and go to work the next day, which I'm not used to doing after Friday happy hours. So I was like discombobulating, but tried out this thing where we did discourse analysis as a structured framework for looking at how Prager University, not PragerU. I shouldn't say Prager University. It's not a university. I'm just going to call it Prager. They haven't even earned the U. It's just a Prager video. We're going to look at, and I want to define this a bit more clearly too, because I think I made some inadvertent errors in terms of the role of connections in this. But we want to look at, sorry, I keep knocking my mic. Hopefully you can't hear that. How does Prager use language to make some things significant or less significant? What practices, activities or practices are they enacting or signaling through their language? What kinds of identities are they building by their use of language? And in terms of relationships, this is like the kind of relationship they want to have with other people, which is different from like connections. And I think I was kind of sliding between relationships and connections. So when I talk about relationships, I'm going to talk about the kind of relationships I have with people. And when I talk about connections, I'm going to talk about how they connect ideas. All right, so just to be clear on that. So that's the relationship element of the analysis. Then in terms of politics, what is being communicated is right or good or bad or evil or a threat or safe. This isn't in the list. I'm just giving more examples. The connections bit we talked about. And then science systems and knowledge, I think generally what you're going to find is that Prager will have contempt for systems of communication or systems of knowledge that challenge patriarchy or male dominance or, you know, sort of more conservative takes on life. All right. I think I did the show on why you can't argue with a leftist. Did we do that? I don't know if we did that one. Okay. Should we take why you should be a nationalist? I'll tell you what, I'll put it up to the chat. We'll do a whole 1-2 thing, so get your fingers ready. You should be a nationalist. If you want to see that one, hit 1 in the chat now. We can do that one as a review. I'm going to be a little interactive. And number 2 is who needs feminism. So those are your choices. Chat number 1. What did I say? Why you should be a nationalist, according to Dennis Prager. Or, where'd he go? What is intersectionality? Where'd he go? The one about feminism. Who needs feminism? All right, so let me take a look at the chat, see how you guys are voting now. All right. Oh, 2. Oh, lots of 2s. Lots of 2s. Okay, I'm thinking the 2s have it. It's kind of close. All right, I tell you what. We'll make a. Sorry, I got all distracted by Kelly's snort coke, vote Carl. You guys crack me up. All right, so we're gonna go with. Oh, now it seems a bit more mixed. But I'll tell you what, we'll do feminism first, and then we'll do nationalism. If the feminism one goes fast, we'll do nationalism this week or next week. But I won't remember. I'll do maybe a special weeknight winters. Oh, it's Easter. That's right, you guys. Sorry, it's Easter coming up. And I will be away from work. I have days off of work, I think. We've got the Friday off and the Monday off. So I will have I'll have a 4-day weekend. So I could definitely do a weeknight winters about the nationalism one as a special one-off, midweek live chat. And I tend to do those at around 6 o'clock in the evening, because that's at the end of the workday, and I don't have my camera on, but it's more time friendly for the States. So I'll commit to doing that. But in the meantime, let's look at who needs feminism, and according to Prager, and let's see how they use language to convey their values and also to frame and shape the world according to how they want it to be, rather than using language to understand how it actually is. All right, that's my hair. My hair is fine, mostly. This bit's a little not flippy enough, but okay, here we go.
I am an anti-feminist. Feminism is a mean-spirited, small-minded, and oppressive philosophy that can poison relations between the sexes. Relations which, for most of us, provide some of life's deepest pleasures and consolations. Feminism has attempted...
Wait. I thought he said anti-feminism was all those bad things, so let me rewind this. First, who is this guy? In terms of relationships, he's a talk show host, so he has an opinion. Who is he? He's a best-selling author. They try to legitimize him of this by claiming he's a best-selling author. Although, to be honest, being a best-selling author doesn't mean that your book was good. It just means a lot of people bought it. A lot of people bought Assassinating Lincoln, but that wasn't a good book because it's filled with Bill O'Reilly's lies. And he got a show. All right. So let's go back. Sorry, because I missed that. I thought he said anti-feminism was a group of small-minded jerks. And I was like, oh, this is some truth. What's going on here? So I want to make sure I didn't mishear it. All right. So let's see how they use language to build their value systems. We'll drag this over here. Oh no, I see. I gotta do this first. Gotta pop that out there. That's what he said. And put this over here so we can see these research questions. You don't need to see everything, just the questions. But you can't see those now because I'm in the way, you guys. So let me just fix this a bit more so you can see it. Now, there you go. I'm always thinking about you, making sure you can see everything. Trying anyway. Sometimes I forget. I try to be a courteous host. All right. Take 2. Ooh, can we put on the closed captioning? That sometimes helps. All right.
I am an anti-feminist. Feminism is a mean-spirited, small-minded, and oppressive philosophy that can poison relations between the sexes.
Citation needed. Okay, so, other than his opinion, really, what have we got going on here? Well, he's definitely using politics to say what is good or right. And he's saying all of feminism at this point is a horrible, awful thing that poisons relationships between the sexes. I guess getting women to question their disadvantaged positions in society is disrupting gender relations because men just can't rape their wives at will. Moving on.
Relations which for most of us provide some of life's deepest pleasures and consolations.
So let's see, if women are disadvantaged in those deepest pleasures and consolations, isn't that something we should examine so that women's experiences of life aren't diminished by stupid power structures based on sexism? I mean, I'm just asking questions here.
Feminism has attempted to bully us all into accepting an obvious lie. The lie that men and women have the same powers, talents, proclivities, and desires, and that consequently...
Okay, so all kinds of stuff going on here. All right, so how is he making things relevant or irrelevant? He's obviously leaving aside all of the important legal and social advances made by feminism in terms of getting women their legal equality, and equality of personhood under the law, being a person outside of, independent of their husband when they get married. There's issues of marital rape, there's issues of voting, there's issues of education, there's issues of domestic violence, there are issues of not having access to universities, there's access to discrimination in the work. Like, none of that. He's not giving feminist critique or feminist activism credit for that. Only the bad things. And I'm sorry, is it controversial to say that men and women have the same powers and talents and proclivities and desires? Why is that controversial? You think women aren't ambitious? That women don't have talent? That women don't have sexual proclivities or any other kind of proclivities? Or women don't have desires that map onto the same kind of desires men have? I mean, that's just empirically easy to dispute or debunk by looking at survey data. I think what he's saying is because feminists say men and women are equal, that means men and women are the same, because he doesn't understand that equality and sameness are two different words. There seems to be a big problem with anti-feminists. They don't speak English. Well, they speak English, but they don't actually understand what the words mean. Like, certain words we use because they have different meanings from other words, and equality is not the same as sameness. Equality doesn't mean no differences. Equality means same, regardless of the differences or similarities. But, I understand what words mean, so it's easier for me. And I don't have to lie when I put out my content. So in that way, it's easier for me.
Any discrepancy in their professional paths is due to bigotry and must be corrected by force of culture and law.
Wow, why? Because, why would you want to redress things that stop people in a meritocracy from actually going as far as they can and becoming, and actually using all of that work and effort to get what they want through structures like discrimination or oppression or marginalization? I guess he really wouldn't be happy if things stayed the same. if we just kept on going with this, we don't need to change society, stop sexism, because women don't really deserve equality, maybe? Is that maybe where he's going with this? All right, so how is he using language here?
By shoving that lie down our throat.
So obviously there's a lot of things. He's using language to make things significant or less significant. He's using language to downplay the... I got a phone call that I can't take right now. I will call that person back. He is using language to downplay all of the positive things that feminism has brought about for women around the world in the last 200 years. From basic education to contraception to equality before the law. And of course, feminism's, the longer it is in a country, the better it is for women. So in places where feminism is still more in the first way of establishing women's equality, there's sort of basic work to be done here. But he doesn't want to focus on that. He only wants to focus on, I guess, the perception of men that they are being criticized for participating in a bias system and protecting a bias system. Practices, I'm not sure he's doing any practices. Identity, obviously, he is promoting this identity of an anti-feminist as one that stands against women's progress. Okay? Then politics, there's a lot of goods being made and a lot of claims about the good and what is right. Here, a lot of value-laden statements without any real evidence or polling data or empirical data whatsoever. And then connections. He's making connections between anything that has to do with feminism and bad things, for instance, being shoved down your throats. Everything is, if the people who are being oppressed, if they would just stop complaining, you guys, everything would be fine.
Throats, feminism has made both men and women less happy and less free.
So no citations there of any data, polling data from a year or whatever, just another empty assertion typical of Prager. And of course he's saying what's being communicated is feminism and its efforts are bad. And feminism is opposed to freedom and feminism is opposed to happiness, because he's a liar.
Now, I'm going to have to speak in generalities.
Because if I actually had to cite some data, I would be in real trouble.
And I understand there are all kinds of exceptions.
And I could look at data and realize that my worldview is full of crap, but instead what I'm just going to do is generalize based on my own cognitive biases. That's my prediction for this video. All right, so he's going to communicate here, how he's going to explain to us what's right and what's wrong. And, oh yeah, there's some exceptions, but mostly.
To what I'm about to say. But the generalities remain generally valid.
Generalities remain generally valid. Citation needed? I mean, if you're going to generalize, then you should have survey data. And survey data, we would be able to independently evaluate ourselves and look at the question and sample size and the framing and the timing. When were the dates of it? Where was the location of it? Has it been repeated since? Has there been any change over time? Oh, no. Oh, no. We wouldn't want transparency. We just want another white man with limited credibility or credentials in this area. He wrote a book and he talks on the radio. That doesn't qualify him to talk about feminism or the history of feminism any more than, it has in other PragerU videos where they have people talking outside of their expertise. So he's going to make an assertion that these generalities are generally valid. Don't believe him. Just be from Missouri. Show me.
Feminism denigrates masculinity in men by relentlessly calling us toxic for our flaws.
All right, so he's lying now. That's just a straight up lie. Feminism critiques masculine structures and values and norms that men are raised in that can be harmful. We've seen empirically that this suppressing emotions and only allowing people anger or violence, men anger or violence as acceptable ways of dealing with their emotions is not good for our society. But why be accurate when you can just lie? And this guy is lying. And Prager lies. And I'm going to call it that. Lies. They lie. And if they didn't lie, they would be able to cite examples, but they don't, which shows they're lying.
Rather than appreciating our natural qualities of energy, risk-taking, and leadership.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I meant to just bow down before every guy, assuming he has energy, risk-taking abilities, and leadership abilities? What? This is a person-by-person, case-by-case basis. And if women have energy and want to take risks and show leadership, we want a society in which women aren't marginalized by men and considered a threat in that way, seen as not only a threat, but like a threat from a woman. So other guys can kind of help exclude her from the process because they don't want to be run by, or they don't want to be managed by women or give women power over them because of their inherent sexist biases that have been developed in them and reinforced by patriarchal structures. Oh, this guy is pointless.
But it also denigrates femininity in women, working to replace most women's commitment to relationship and child-rearing with male obsessions, such as career.
Only men care about their work outside of the home. Only men can care about making a positive contribution to society through their daily work. Women, according to this, can only find our meaning by having babies. No, feminism is about options and choices, and women aren't going to be mothers their entire lives. Women will be, a lot of women will have children and raise their children, and then their children will leave. So what are those women before they have kids, and what are those women and their roles in life when their kids are out of the house? It's the way that they operationalize women's meaning in life and reducing us to our biology means that most of women's lives are ignored. And we tend to, this kind of work tends to focus and define women's lives as being breastfeeding and, raising a toddler, not having a 24-year-old who's in college and a full-time job because, your kids have moved out and you've got a whole life now. So this idea that male obsessions, are men obsessed with career status and strength? Maybe some men are. Hashtag not all men. Some guys, they don't have an obsession with their career status or their strength. They want to be decent human beings, or they have other interests. So these generalities are not generally true. They're just patriarchal assumptions imposed on people. This is why he can't, it's like, oh, there's going to be some exceptions, but generally these are valid things. They're just not. Prager lies.
Career status and strength. What's the result? Take a look at the quintessential feminist icon, Rosie the Riveter, flexing her muscle. The truth is, any man of the same size and fitness can make a bigger, stronger muscle than Rosie can.
Okay. I mean, I guess I come from a perspective that because we're living in a modern society and we're rational thinking beings, that we shouldn't really be framing human relationships between men and women in terms of how easily can he rape her, how easily can he dominate her, and if men can physically dominate women, therefore this makes we should conclude that women aren't strong. You try having a baby, mister, and tell me about strength. Yeah, I know that as a man you operationalize your strength in terms of your ability to beat other people and maybe rape women or rape men. Basically any display of violence and dominance together. Maybe that's your idea of what power is. Yeah, mine isn't. Mine's not. And I think in the 21st century we should get beyond cave-dwelling power structures and develop societies in which a human being, regardless of where they're born or who they're born to or who they love or what their body looks like or who they feel they are inside, they can have the opportunity to make their talents, to hone their talents, to find their passion, and to live a life that they enjoy. But as long as men can thump women, women don't deserve respect, I guess, according to this guy.
By herding women away from their feminine natures, feminism seeks to transform them from first-rate women into second-rate men.
Whoa. Oh my God. What a load of crap. This guy is obviously like a complete, he's a misogynist in the sort of Kate Mann notion. Any woman who tries to challenge or overturn the perceived historical natural order of men's dominance is a threat. And clearly he cannot conceive of the idea of women being powerful in the workplace and being great moms and being, supportive lovers. That we can't have all these facets to our personality. We can only, if we're not having babies, according to him, feminism is denying our nature. Honestly, it's an amazing load of crap. It's the same kind of crap we saw from the trigger idiots. This sort of baseless, without empirical evidence, no survey data, no economic data, no looking at the world, other than looking down his own pants and going, I have a penis. This is what I got. This is where I get my power. if you disagree, I'm going to be like Jordan Peterson. I'm going to be really sad I can't thump a woman anymore. This is all these guys have. And you wonder why they're like laughed at and considered pathetic. It's just amazing to me that anyone takes them seriously. And the only reason you could take this seriously if you're brainwashed into a patriarchal worldview where you just accept women are inferior. If you accept the inferiority of women because men can beat or rape them at any time, then I guess this worldview makes sense. But if you're actually like into humanism, it can't.
Now, perhaps you'll protest. Isn't feminism simply the idea that women have the same human rights as men? No.
It goes much farther than that. Feminism is about the transformation of society where women and men can be themselves and still be viewed as equal and treated with respect and dignity and provided the same number of opportunities. So again, he's not going to cite anyone here. I can predict it. He's not going to give an accurate or fair account. He is simply going to give a right-wing, reactionary, misogynistic, in terms of misogynistic meaning, demonizing or marginalizing women who want to transform the structure of male power worldview.
It isn't. That philosophy is called classical liberalism.
Oh my God. Well, it's amazing. I really wish you could sue people like PragerU for lying. You know, you can only really sue for defamation, type of things when you publish lies about people. But this is a lie. This is classical. Oh God. It's amazing. It's amazing how they get away with this when you have a bunch of money and a fancy production company and empty-headed speakers who are willing to say anything for $1. Am I being a bit too harsh? Because I feel like I'm not being harsh enough.
Which holds that we are all equally endowed by God with the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mofo, they wrote that while they owned slaves. Like, you know, I know, and of course they stole it from Locke, right? First they got life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. The founding fathers did not intend those equalities to go to anybody except other white men. And this is another part of the lie. That somehow, at the same time, these white guys who were benefiting from the slave labor of others, also from the paid labor of poorer whites, and also, you know, having domestic and sexual slavery in the form of their wives, they did not intend for those freedoms to extend beyond their own little core group. So this is another misrepresentation to somehow say, oh yes, back when we had slaves and women had no rights, people were really interested in equality far more so than today. What did that tweet just say? Read between the lines. All right, continuing.
But wait, doesn't the Declaration of Independence say that all men are created equal? Yes. Classical liberalism was an idea conceived by and largely for Christian white men.
Oh, okay. Well, we finally got a little bit of honesty here. Let's see where he takes it.
But, like all ideas, good and bad, classical liberalism has evolved over time according to its internal logic. So it now includes all races and both sexes.
Who? Like what author? What philosopher? What books? When did this happen? Who was credited with it? Where was the feminist critique? Does he have any evidence that this is the case? Does he demonstrate to us the self-critique of the sexist, racist, classist structure of classical liberalism and why it needed to be reformed and rejected in its original form completely as inadequate and immoral? Because, you know, the frameworks that allowed for that critique of classical liberalism that only included propertied white men was feminism, Marxism, and critiques of racial inequality, you know, seeking racial justice. All the things he hates are the things that forced classical liberalism to modernize, into modernization, and to leave behind its sexism in order to stay relevant, and its racism. Not so much as classism. I think there's still a lot of classism in there, but untrue. Until you can substantiate it, there's no reason for us to believe him.
Good job, Christian white men.
It wasn't Christian white men who did this. It was feminists. It was women. It was African Americans who threw off, were working to advance their people from the bondage, the chains of bondage, crying for a little bit of equality. And who was standing in the way? Christian white men. It took force and agitation and decades and decades and decades of arguing with Christian white men for them to give up a little bit of power. Just a little bit of power. And you're breaking your arm to pat yourself on the back. Idiot. To have the confidence of an incompetent, mediocre white man. Just look at the confidence on this guy's face when he is talking utter crap. Complete crap.
Thanks for the great idea.
No, it wasn't their idea. See, stealing, this is it. White men stealing other people's ideas is example of patriarchy. You are doing the thing that you say doesn't exist, mofo.
As its excuse for the damage it does to our lives, feminism has developed the historical mythology that men have oppressed women and now must be suppressed in their turn to even things out.
Said no one ever. Really. Is he quoting anyone, any feminist here? Does he have thousands of examples of feminists actually saying this phrase? No. You know why? Because he's lying. He's a liar. He's a propagandist. He's about perpetuating inequality. That's why he can't cite real people. Because if he had to go up against a real feminist like me or anyone else who knows what they're talking about, he would be crushed on the facts because he doesn't have facts. He's got bigoted feelings.
Let me propose a different narrative that has the advantage of possibly being true.
It's not about narrative. It's about empirical evidence. Did men run the church in all monotheistic religions that influenced Western society? Yes. Did men hold all of the economic power from the beginning of time until, in the 1960s, women could have their own bank accounts for the first time. Women could get a credit card in their own name, I think, in the 1970s. So is that a narrative? No, that's just an empirical fact. So, of course, he wants to pretend that feminism has a narrative because he can't deal with the overwhelming evidence. So he has to equate his delusional, hate-based narrative, where women stay oppressed and in their place and having babies and being sexually available domestic servants for men, into this other narrative where I'm sure the Christian white guys are going to be all about how awesome they are.
Insofar as men and women are physical creations.
Wow, look at this. She's got nice cleavage. She's white. She's wearing a modern haircut. She's got a tiny, tiny waist and a really sexy shirt. Because this shows you a real representation of the harshness of modern life, where her breast would be out and also probably her nipples would be, have had lots of babies. So the breast would be really saggy, after having no access to contraception, getting pregnant basically any time it was, the right moment. But no, it's important to PragerU to sexualize women and present them in this way to remind the male gaze viewers that women are here for us, right? Women are here is baby making, which means sexual release for men and the physical burdens of pregnancy and child rearing for women.
Their central purpose is the production of more human beings.
Yep, we have to divide. Yes, as long as we can make sure women are defined by being pregnant and bearing kids, we have a biological reason to exclude them from society. Right? The fact that we have modernity and contraception and childcare now and things are much easier, it's possible to balance a life as well as provide for yourself in terms of your career and your family. Oof, that's going to equal things out, and that's going to be really scary to him.
Women are therefore fashioned in body and mind to make and nurture children.
Women are fashioned in body and mind to make and nurture children. That's just not true. That's simply not true. There's no empirical evidence that women were fashioned. And also, because women can have babies, that doesn't mean that defines who they are. It definitely shows that men define women in that way. Men look at women and go, I can ejaculate into her, and then I'll have offspring that she can breastfeed and care for, and I'll play with and occasionally smack around to discipline, and then I can have a lot of it. That men's idea of what women are isn't what women are. You get what I mean?
and men to protect and support those children during their relatively long maturation period. All societies shape themselves around these necessities.
Yeah, back in before we had science and modernity, these were things that definitely people tried to control. There's a lot of evidence that abortifacients were used in the Roman world. In fact, I remember vaguely some discussion about a kind of plant that was so popular for its use as an abortifacient. They actually, it grew on one island and they consumed it out of existence. That's how much women in the Roman world were eager for the ability to control their fertility. So yes, we've always tried to control our fertility as women, using abortifacients and contraception and other things. But of course, he wants to define everything in terms of women having babies and men doing everything else, because then men can have all the power and the money and the glory and the status, and women just have to stay at home.
They created structures that formalized gender roles and attempted to ensure the paternity of children so that men would care for their own.
No, men cared about that. Men created systems to control women's sexual activity and to punish women who transgressed and men who transgressed, because men viewed those women as their property, not as actual human beings. And they perceived their offspring as their property, right? So it's not about men caring for their own, that is a concern of men, because women, every baby they have are their own, right? This is just such obvious Christian patriarchal fiction without any, again, basis. In fact, in terms of, he's saying motivations. This is why people did this stuff. You don't know that. He's making it up. He's doing a post hoc ergo propter hoc because it's preserving gender relations. People must have had this in mind and did it for a particular reason.
In many societies, these structures became increasingly ritualistic and oppressive for women. But the opposite happened in the Christian West.
What? What you talking about? What?
Why? Take a look at your Bible.
Take a look at feminism, mofo. Take a look at what women were doing in the 1800s when some women had access to education and realized how important it was to provide access to all girls to have that kind of education. No, women's rights, women's dignity are not found in the Bible. Absolutely not.
Proverbs 31. The biblical ideal of a good woman is not only strong, kind, and wise, she's also a creative and economic dynamo. Christianity sanctified.
Who? What? Where are those role models, right? And role models I can think of is Eve, who was demonized by men for centuries because she, unlike Adam, questioned the purpose of the fruit, thought about whether or not it would be a good idea, decided knowledge and wisdom was desirable, and took a risk. And what did Adam do? In the story, when Eve hands him the fruit, just eats it unthinkingly, sticks it in his mouth, right? And so for that role of being, wise and thinking through things, and actually, according to the story in Genesis, liberating people from the tyranny of ignorance imposed upon them by Yahweh, she is seen as the worst woman in the Bible. I guess after Jezebel, what was Jezebel? Oh yeah, she had her own religion and her own thoughts and had her own way of doing things, and she was murdered. Sarah in the Bible, she was defined by the fact that she didn't have babies until her husband, she gave her slave woman over in a rape situation to her husband, and Abraham raped his domestic slave, his sex slave, got her pregnant, and then Sarah booted her and the baby out when she got pregnant, so she's not really a great role model. Where are all these great women role models? If you go through the Bible, women are really only there to further the plots of men's lives. They're not independent, thoughtful human beings in and of themselves. Lot's wife, again, another example of a woman who defied God by looking over her shoulder, and for that terrible crime she was turned into salt. Even though Lot himself was willing to hand over his own daughters to be raped, he didn't get any problems from Yahweh. So again, it's amazing how these Christian white dudes will lie to themselves to deny reality.
Motherhood in the person of Mary, and celebrated women's fortitude and virtue in the female saints.
Yeah, women who died for Christ, women who died for a man, are held up as role models. Or in the case of Mary, well, Mary was basically not a really big part of Christianity early on. It was about Jesus, it was about the fish, it was about the resurrection and all that. And it wasn't until later on, again, history, it's only about facts, when Christianity was expanding out into the Roman Empire and there was a lot of paganism, and the church realized that they could use the role of Mary to replace the divine feminine in paganism to keep newly converted Christian pagans from returning to their old ways. It just takes reading a couple books, but this is beyond this guy, apparently.
The church created a version of marriage intended to protect women.
Are you crazy? Okay, marriage was happening outside the role of the church for a long time, and it was much later on that the Roman Catholic Church instituted marriage as a sacrament. But the church did not create a version of marriage intended to protect women. That's just not. I want to see the citations on that, honestly. It's a lie after another lie after another lie.
And designed the philosophy of chivalry, which instructed men to use their superior strength for women.
Again, the church didn't do this. The chivalry did not come out of the church. And also, a lot of the knights were going around, and raping women who were of a lower economic class because they could. And knights, the damsel in distress who needs to be saved. This is how he wants to see himself. This is how this old white Christian dude wants to see himself. And that's why feminism apparently is such a disturbing thing, because it breaks down this assumption of him being a good guy and of being a protector, when he's clearly mostly just spreading a lot of bigotry and misinformation.
Not against them.
It's also amazing how all these people are so white. White, white, white. Lots of white. Everyone in the images is white. I guess this is for white people, and that's it.
Individuals can be incredibly abusive to one another, men and women both. But over time, Christendom tended to elevate, protect, and ultimately include women as women.
No, that's a lie. That's simply a lie. If that was the case, if Christendom did that, then the first place that women would have seen advancement would be in the church. And where's the last place we actually see the advancement of women? In the churches. It was much easier for them to integrate racially than it is for them, Christians especially, to be led by a woman pastor or bishop, and let alone a woman pope. So no, Christian doesn't elevate or protect, because here's another example. If you want to prove to me that Christendom wanted to protect women, show me where the men and the priests initiated criminalizing marital rape. Oh wait, they didn't. They considered a woman who took her oath to owe her body to her husband whenever he wanted. So again, lies, 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 lies.
In the great enterprise of Western civilization. Now, the developments of modernity have created special challenges for women. Industry removed clothing and food production from the home to the factory, and thus deprived homemakers of their traditional businesses.
What? No, we didn't. Women didn't have businesses when it comes to making clothes. That was labor that they just performed for free for their husbands, because they were domestic slaves. It's not like, there was all kinds of businesses owned by women going back thousands of years under Christendom. They wouldn't even, oh God, this lies. I guess, I know I keep saying that. I completely lost the plot about the discourse analysis, but it's just the same thing. He's using politics, he's lying, he's creating identities that misrepresent feminists and try to rescue sexism. And he's also trying to discount all of the good feminism has done and instead give that credit, that significant, contributions to Christian men.
Children lost their monetary value to parents by leaving home to fend for themselves.
Again,
so,
citation
while
needed.
motherhood
What the
and
hell?
homemaking remain the most important spiritual activities of humankind,
spiritual activities most important, all of these are claims that he can't substantiate. It's getting kind of boring to repeat the same thing. But when someone just stands up there and lies to your face over and over and over again, it's kind of like, well, that's not true. This is wrong. You need evidence for this. Empirically, this can be disproven. That's your opinion based on nothing. And so there's a lot of feels. There's a lot of conservative white dude feels going on here.
Modernity has stripped those enterprises of their former economic power. But in a way,
I'm pretty sure you can make money from working on clothes and being a seamstress and all that kind of stuff. It's just what he's saying is, women used to be busy in the home, and then we had modernity, and now they're less busy in the home because it doesn't take them all day to clean and keep the kids fed. So how are we how are women going to use this extra time in the house so they don't get the wrong ideas about going out into the world and becoming independent economic powers for themselves?
Western civilization dedicated to equal rights, these challenges come along with fresh opportunities. New technologies and effective birth control allow individual women to tailor gender roles to their personal liking or abandon them altogether.
This happens to men too, right? Like, this isn't just an effect on women. Men are also having the benefits of access to contraception and legal abortion in terms of the timing and spacing of when they have kids. But, let's just frame it all in terms of women and ignore all of the benefits that have happened to men.
None of this is a reason to attack men.
God, I'm just going to keep going.
These new opportunities are largely the result of men's inventions.
He gives no credit at all to feminist activists for their efforts, and he's using all the things that feminism has worked to achieve, and he's having men steal it. He's a thief as well as a liar.
And their ideas. And none of it requires women to abandon the femininity, which is one of the graces of our world.
This is very typical of the sort of like putting women on a pedestal kind of sexism. What you do is it's a sexism that's bound in the idea women are fragile and precious, and so we need to put them over here and protect them. But protection really means infantilization. You need to, that's trying to basically hone in women, here you belong, here, that's it. This is your role because this, you have babies, so we need to define everything about you according to your ability to have babies. And this is a little too dangerous for you, little lady. We don't want you to hurt your ovaries. This career over here, that will distract you from motherhood. You don't want to do that, little lady. And pushes women into this sort of corner where men can control them as, sort of damsels in distress rather than treating them as equals. And because they are being polite to women in that way, they think that is equality, when it's really just patronizing.
It's just change and progress, that's all. With honest thought and goodwill, we can adapt over time without the angry, bitter, and dishonest attacks on our human nature by feminists.
Well, this entire video has been a dishonest attack on feminists, so... What was that line about read between the lines?
I'm Andrew Klavan.
For Prager Fake Lying Propaganda Institute. Please ignore everything I've just said. Andrew Klavan is a liar. I'm just going to say that. He can sue me for defamation because I would happily go to court and demonstrate how he is full of crap at every single minute. This guy is not worth your respect or time. Not right now. Maybe he'll be better in the future. But OMG. That is easily disproven and obviously massive right-wing propaganda. All right, guys. Oh, look at that. Perfectly at the top of the hour. Hitting at 1400 on the nose. All right, so I'm just going to have a quick look here to see if anyone has tagged me into something I need to notice, like, here's a big problem. But no, it seems you guys are just commenting on the stupidity of PragerU, which is why we're doing it together. And I did a little bit less on the discourse analysis, but, at this point, and that one at least, it was really the significance, the identities, and the politics. They just use those again and again and again and again and again, saying the same thing in different ways and just lying about things in the same structure. So 250 said, that story I told last week, the sexist lecturer didn't do anything, but later I told a guidance counselor and she made sure the ass slapper was put on report. Thank good. Thank you. Yeah, good. Glad to hear it. Because that's how you make change. You have to give people feedback that what they're doing is messed up. I'm bald for PragerU. I don't want to laugh at the follically challenge. But Yeah, there was that comment that came up about why is it the men who keep trying to control women look like penises themselves? It kind of does look like a penis with glasses. All right. So, guys, the new Game of Thrones starts later today. Oh my gosh, you're going to ask me about... I'm not going to do a feminist critique of Game of Thrones in the last minute of my show. Sorry. There's a lot of things that one can bring as terms of a feminist critique to Game of Thrones in terms of analyzing... both the ways in which women have more, not more power, but different kinds of power, or the society of Game of Thrones and how women are able to operate within still a patriarchal structure to engage in some limited forms of power, or how do they use power structures to work within them to, say, exercise power. But I don't have time now. All right, guys, so I'm going to get going. It is the end of my day at my show. I've got other things to be getting on with, but I really appreciate your time, that you guys are here watching me slam. In this case, it was 3 reactionary anti-feminist propagandists. So thanks for that. And I will try to get on with that weeknight Winters episode with nationalism between now and the Friday, the holiday Friday coming up. So thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. I've been Kristi. You've been awesome. Thanks for your time and attention. And until next time, guys, we will see each other later. Okay, now I gotta go over this side and hit the stop streaming. Did that bit, now I gotta really confirm. Okay, do I really want to stop the stream? Sadly, I do. All right, see you later, guys.